Chapter 45. 8 Powers. In his muddle-headed consciousness, Xiaoyan wandered aimlessly. His intangible body was weightless, leaving only a trace of his soul floating in the endless darkness. Slowly, the endless darkness faded away, replaced by a scarlet ray of light. Under the ray of light, Xiaoyan's breathing became rapid due to the pressure. This invisible key was like a sharp sword, making metallic sounds. Buzzing sounds pierced through Xiaoyan's mind, causing him to feel a slight pain. Just as his heart was about to explode because of this cold key, this key suddenly let out a rumbling sound. It swallowed the crimson light, and then, a black and golden word that seemed to be able to crush the endless blue sky slowly appeared, and the word appeared. This space seemed to have been torn apart, and endless booming sounds continuously rang out. It carried an endless stream of powerful ki, and it almost destroyed Xiaoyan's soul. Just as Xiaoyan's wisp of soul energy was about to dissipate, a beam of light suddenly appeared out of thin air. A vast and boundless soul energy swept forward, forcing back millions of cold ki, wrapping around Xiaoyan's soul and disappearing without a trace. After Hao Han's soul saved Xiaoyan's weak soul, the spatial zone suddenly shattered because of the appearance of the big word. A vague chant came from the big black and white words, 10,000 force split, great force split. The 8 forces will be divided into the great force and the great force will be divided into the great force. The force will be. The chanting sound became smaller and smaller. Following the disappearance of the voice, this vigorous, force, character also slowly disappeared. Cough. Xiaoyan coughed violently and then opened his eyes. The glaring sunlight shot into his eyes, making Xiaoyan narrow his eyes out of habit. When his eyes adapted to the sunlight, he could not help but be stunned when he saw the scene in front of him. This was the square he had just entered the illusion realm. Wasn't he in the forest using the deterrent force to kill the spirit beast? Why did he come here? Xiaoyan jumped up. A heart-piercing pain came from his chest, making him suck in a breath of cold air. He looked down and saw that his upper body was red. In the middle of his chest, there was a conspicuous word that appeared out of nowhere. What is this? Xiaoyan was stunned when he saw the word in front of his chest. Then, he thought of something. This word was almost identical to the words in his consciousness just now. When he realized this, Xiaoyan looked at the words on his chest and his eyes were filled with vigilance and bewilderment. Just as Xiaoyan could not figure it out, a breeze blew from behind him. A figure slowly walked over. Xiaoyan did not even need to look back to know who it was. He turned around and respectfully said, "Elder Yi." At this moment, Yi Tianchen looked at the former with a complicated expression. His eyes stared at Xiaoyan, making Xiaoyan feel a little scared in his heart. After a long time, Yi Tianchen finally looked at Xiaoyan's chest. In his tone, there was a lingering exclamation of surprise in his voice. "I didn't expect that you would be able to concoct the prestige power spell by accident this time." Prestige power spell. What is it? Xiaoyan asked curiously. He could vaguely recognize the word on his chest. It was a vague word, force. However, he had no idea how this thing appeared and what it could do. Force is a mysterious character that has been passed down since the ancient era. It's because it's too ancient and mysterious. Thus it does not belong to the category of sacred objects, but it is not weaker than any sacred object. According to legend, during the primordial era, there were 10,000 types of force. After a long period of evolution and the cultivation of countless supreme experts, there were only 8 types left. Each of them has different abilities. Yi Tianchen organized his thoughts and continued, "Once, there were some peerless beauties who merged these 8 types of forces into one, but because they were too powerful, it caused the heavens to be jealous, causing all the peerless beauties to turn into ashes in the heavenly tribulation." When he heard this, although he still didn't know what this so-called force was, however, he didn't need to think to know that it was extremely powerful to be able to collect all 8 types of force. It was definitely not easier to subdue all the monarch flames than to obtain all 8 types of force. She could really be considered a peerless beauty. According to the ancient records, the last time all 8 types of forces were gathered was several 100,000 years ago. In the end, that ultimate expert's soul perished under the heavenly tribulation, and from then on, the 8 forces were scattered throughout the various parts of the great world. After speaking for a long time, the power belongs to one of the 8 forces. The ability it possesses is the change of ki. Seeing the puzzled look on Xiaoyan's face, Yi Tianqian continued, I have heard about it from Xiaolong. You once fought against Lildino's dragon pressure with the ki of a world paragon and absorbed the ki of intimidation emitted by him. The aura of intimidation went through some strange changes in your body and formed a seal of intimidation. Then, you absorbed a trace of the azure ancient profound bird's intimidation aura, perfecting the seal of intimidation. When you were fighting with the 3 mid-grade spirit beasts, you released the intimidation energy with all your might, and you were in an extremely excited state. It also caused the intimidating aura seal to break, due to the fact that there might be something special in your body. In the end, the intimidating ki is formed. Xiaoyan's heart couldn't help but tremble when he heard this. If it was something special, then the so-called powerful force. It was the sublimation of one's ki. The reason why a lower-level expert feared a higher-level expert. The difference in strength is one reason, but the suppression of one's aura is also very important. You should have a rich understanding of this. Yi Tianqian glanced at Xiaoyan. He said calmly. Xiaoyan nodded his head after hearing what Yi Tianqian said. The crushing of the strong against the weak was not only reflected in the aspect of strength. It was also reflected in the fighting monarchs that is Do Di and Do Sheng of the world below. There was only a level difference between the two. Putting aside the difference in strength, a trace of the aura of the fighting monarch could cause a peak Do Sheng to not dare to show any disrespect. The aura of the fighting monarch could cause their bodies to explode and die. This was the power of the aura. Might is one of the 8 powers. It can increase the power of the aura by a large margin. In the future, just by relying on the aura alone, you're not weaker than opponents of the same level. More importantly, if you train your aura to an extremely high level, even the saint's aura will not affect you at all. Of course, this also includes the pressure of your soul. Yi Tianqian's calm words fell on Xiaoyan's heart like a heavy hammer, causing his breathing to quicken slightly. Xiaoyan lowered his head and looked at the blurry words. On his chest, a fiery heat quickly surged in his eyes. He had never thought that. Don't be happy too early. The 8 powers is an immemorial secret technique. Unless you learn it by yourself, no one can master it. Only a freak like you has something special inside your body. In addition to absorbing the aura of the little dragon and the azure ancient profound bird, these 2 fellows were no ordinary holy beasts. Unconsciously, the 3 streams of supreme aura within his body broke through the mutation. The catalysis had given birth to a might, but the might of the catalysis was still too weak. It can't be compared to the prestige power spell of the 8 powers. Looking at the blurry black and gold words on Xiaoyan's chest, Yi Tianqian shook his head with slight regret. Xiaoyan was startled for a moment, then he said, there should be a perfect method. When Yi Tianqian heard this, he was just about to open his mouth to reply when his heart suddenly shook. Then, a strange expression appeared on the handsome face of the latter. After a long time, Yi Tianqian seemed to have made up his mind. Under Xiaoyan's surprised gaze, he slowly nodded his head. Yes, Xiaoyan was delighted when he heard this. The prestige power spell was a powerful secret technique that was comparable to a holy item. If it could be perfected, it would definitely be of great help to him. Yi Tianqian let go of his tightly clenched fists. He looked at Xiaoyan, who was excited, without leaving a trace. All the negative emotions that had been suppressed in his heart for many days were swept away. Will of the heavens, this little guy, looks like he can leave without any worries now. Yi Tianqian said softly and smiled. This little guy, it made him more and more satisfied. Let's put this matter aside for now. When the time is right, I will tell you. Your current combat experience is already very rich. In the following time, try your best to cultivate and try to break through as soon as possible. When the time comes, there will be a lot of things to be busy with. Feeling Xiaoyan's anxious gaze, Yi Tianqian chuckled and threw the remaining white jade bottle containing the fiery spirit blood to Xiaoyan. After saying something that baffled the latter, Xiaoyan's figure disappeared from the square. Looking at the place where Xiaoyan was standing just now, it was a long time before Yi Tianqian let out a soft laugh. Then, as if he had thought of something, he pointed his finger and thousands of metal and jade items appeared. When his figure appeared once again, Xiaoyan was standing on a wide grassland. A warm breeze blew against his face, bringing with it a hint of flower fragrance. Not far away, a small river was flowing quietly. Everything seemed extraordinarily quiet. This illusion is too real. He stretched his body. Xiao Yan stuck out his tongue and had a new understanding of the soul power of the Supreme Saint. Just as he was sighing with emotion, Xiao Yan suddenly thought of his own soul power. Currently, he was still at the false sovereign realm. Coincidentally, Elder Yi was also a powerful alchemist. If his request was successful, wouldn't that mean that he could continue concocting pills? Xiao Yan became excited once again. At this time, the red color on Xiao Yan's upper body had completely disappeared. The black and gold word force had also disappeared under his skin, and his chest had once again returned to normal. He took out the white jade bottle that Elder Yi had given him. As soon as he opened the cork, the hot smell of the fiery spiritual blood gushed out. Xiao Yan frowned when he smelled the smell. He was going to suffer again. He felt helpless. Xiao Yan took a deep breath and poured the whole bottle of red fiery spirit blood onto his body. Before he could apply the jade to his body, the burning sensation had already penetrated deep into his heart. Ah! A pig slaughtering howl suddenly sounded on the grass. Time flew by, and unknowingly, it had been more than 3 months since Xiao Yan had advanced to the 4 sovereign warriors. During this period of time, Xiao Yan had never slacked off his cultivation. Every time, he would burn until his entire body convulsed before he stopped. After such an intense training, just as Xiao Yan had used up all the fire spirit blood that Yi Tianqian had refined and the 5th origin chains in his body had begun to take shape, Yi Tianqian appeared once again. It had only been 3 months since they last saw each other. At this moment, Yi Tianqian looked very old. He no longer had that kind of cool look, and his energy no longer seemed to be the same as before. Elder Yi, what happened to you? Xiao Yan asked in shock as he looked at the tired Yi Tianqian in front of him. Don't ask anymore. It's time to perfect your prestige power spell. There was a hint of sadness in Yi Tianqian's voice when he said that. Chapter end. Hi guys, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.